All right, buckle up, everybody, because we are going deep today.
Ooh, I like it.
A deep dive into some seriously mind-blowing stuff.
Sounds fun.
And you know, I love this stuff. This is really right up my alley. Our amazing listeners, you guys sent in some incredible material. We're diving headfirst into it.
Awesome.
So we're going to be exploring the intersection of ancient wisdom and modern science with a little sprinkle of prophecy.
All right, I'm intrigued.
Specifically, we'll be unpacking this Gregg Braden video that you guys sent in.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this one. It's good.
Ready to explore lost knowledge, the power of human emotion, and maybe even the nature of reality itself.
Let's do it. I'm ready when you are.
All right, let's jump right in.
Okay.
It's amazing how Braden connects these seemingly random, like, historical events and ideas.
Yeah, he does a great job of weaving it all together. He really does.
Take the burning of the Library at Alexandria, for example. The sheer scale of the loss is just, like, unimaginable.
It's hard to fathom.
Over 532,000 documents. Gone.
Just like that. Boo.
And then the 4th century biblical edits, with 45 books removed.
Wow, I'd never thought about it like that.
It really makes you wonder, what impact did these events have on our understanding of history? What knowledge was lost? What insights are we missing out on because of these events?
Well, it's like we're trying to understand this super complex machine with only like half of the instruction manual.
Right.
We're left with just these little fragments, these glimpses into a potentially way richer and more nuanced understanding of our past.
Absolutely. And speaking of glimpses into the past, the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls in the mid-20th century was, like, monumental.
Huge.
11 caves, 25,000 fragments, 900 scrolls.
That's incredible.
It's like stumbling upon a lost library,
Yeah.
hidden away for centuries.
Like a time capsule.
Totally. What makes these scrolls so significant?
Well, they give us this window into the original unedited texts.
Oh, wow.
For example, like we see a much fuller version of the Book of Revelation, one that actually includes this description of 1,000 years of peace.
1,000 years of peace.
1,000 years of peace.
So they left that out of the version that, you know,
They did, yeah.
that we read now.
It's pretty wild, right?
That's incredible.
It makes you really question, like, what else have we been missing?
Right, exactly.
You know, what other insights have been kind of obscured for all these centuries?
I'm really curious about this idea of 1,000 years of peace. Like, is it just a vague notion of, like, everybody's getting along?
Well, not really, no. Like, the text actually goes into detail about this time of harmony and cooperation and spiritual awakening. It's really fascinating.
So paint a picture for me. What would that world actually look like?
Okay, so imagine a world where, like, all the nations are working together.
Right.
Right, where conflict is resolved through understanding rather than through force.
Okay.
And where, like, humanity's focus shifts from all these material pursuits to, like, spiritual growth.
It sounds incredibly idealistic.
It does, yeah.
Do you think it's actually possible, though? Like, given everything we know about human nature and the complexities of the world?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can humanity actually, like, transcend all these seemingly inherent tendencies towards conflict and, you know, and division?
Yeah.
The prophecies, they offer us this really tantalizing glimpse into what could be, but they don't actually offer a guarantee.
So it's not, like, set in stone.
Right. It's not destiny.
It's just a potential outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
That depends on the choices that we make.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah, and that actually brings us to another, like, fascinating part of Braden's work. This concept of a universal intelligent field that responds to human emotion.
This is where it gets really, really interesting. I remember him talking about it as an unconventional energy field.
Yeah.
Which is a term that even scientists are using now.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
How does this idea connect to ancient wisdom?
Well, for centuries, you know, various traditions have talked about this universal life force, this energy that, like, permeates everything and connects us all.
Right.
And now modern science is actually beginning to explore this concept.
Wow.
With quantum physicists describing a field that not only connects everything, but also seems to, like, possess a form of intelligence.
It's like science is catching up with ancient wisdom.
Exactly.
Right, validating all these ideas that were once considered mystical or esoteric.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And this has profound implications.
Right.
Because if this field responds to human emotion, like Braden suggests, then our thoughts and feelings aren't just these internal experiences. They actually have the power to influence the world around us.
Exactly.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying that our emotions can actually impact physical reality?
Yeah, it's a bold claim, I know. But it's one that's supported by a growing body of scientific evidence.
Really?
Yeah, for example, like experiments have shown that human intention can actually influence the behavior of subatomic particles. And studies on the placebo effect demonstrate the power of belief to affect physical healing.
That's amazing. It really suggests that we have, like, a much greater level of responsibility
Yeah.
than we typically acknowledge,
I agree.
right? Because if our emotions can shape reality,
Mm-hmm.
then we actually become active participants in creating our collective experience.
Exactly.
We're not just passive observers.
No, we're co-creators.
Yeah, we're co-creators of our reality.
I like that.
And this brings us back to the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Okay.
The Essenes, the group believed to have written the scrolls,
Yeah.
they had this really deep understanding of our connection to the natural world.
Yes, they did.
I remember reading that they lived in close communion with nature, and they had all these practices and rituals and disciplines to harmonize themselves with the rhythms of the cosmos.
It's fascinating,
It
right?
is.
Their whole way of life reflects this awareness of this interconnected field, this knowledge that we've kind of lost touch with over time.
So the Dead Sea Scrolls, along with these other ancient texts, offer us a path to rediscovering that wisdom and reclaiming our power as conscious creators.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I've got this concept of lost knowledge, rediscoveries like the Dead Sea Scrolls, and this understanding of a universal field that responds to human emotion.
Yeah.
How does the Torah code fit into all of this?
Well, the Torah code, with its like hidden patterns and potential insights into like the nature of reality, adds another layer of complexity to this already like fascinating tapestry.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Imagine like an ancient text, right? Like a blueprint containing all these coded messages that reveal deeper truths about the universe and our place within
It
it.
sounds like something out of a science fiction novel.
Doesn't it?
I'm fascinated, but like, how is this code even deciphered and what kind of information does it actually contain?
It involves these complex mathematical algorithms
Hmm.
that analyze the spacing and arrangement of letters in the Hebrew text. Proponents of the Torah code believe that these patterns reveal like hidden meanings, connections, and even predictions about the future.
Proponents.
Yeah.
So there's debate about whether this is even like a legitimate thing.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of debate.
Okay.
Critics argue that the patterns found are just random
Mm-hmm.
or a result of like confirmation bias,
Okay.
while supporters point to, statistically significant correlations that defy explanation.
Hmm.
It's a very complex and controversial subject.
Yeah, sounds like it.
But I think it's one that definitely warrants further exploration.
It definitely feels like we've only scratched the surface here.
Oh, yeah, we've only just begun.
There's so much more to unpack.
So much more.
And this is already shaping up to be quite the mind-bending journey.
It is.
For our listeners, stay tuned because we're about to delve even deeper into these fascinating ideas.
We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody.
We've been exploring some pretty amazing concepts, lost knowledge, rediscoveries like the Dead Sea Scrolls, and this whole idea of a universal field that responds to human emotion.
Right. It's a lot to take in.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about the Torah code with its hidden patterns and potential insights into the very fabric of reality.
It's wild stuff.
It is. But before we get back to that, I'd love to hear more about this simulation argument. Is there any actual evidence to suggest that we might be living in a sophisticated virtual reality?
Well, nobody's found the off switch yet.
Okay, good point.
But seriously, it's a question that's gaining a lot of traction and like scientific and philosophical circles these days. There's no like definitive proof. But there are some really intriguing thought experiments out there and even some astrophysical observations that lend some weight to the idea.
Can you give me an example? Like, how could we even test for something like that?
Well, one line of reasoning comes from quantum mechanics. The behavior of particles at the subatomic level, it's so strange and counterintuitive, it suggests that reality might not be as straightforward as we think it is.
Right.
For instance, particles seem to exist in multiple states at the same time until they're observed,
Yeah.
which some people interpret as evidence of a simulated reality, where only the observed data needs to be rendered.
So instead of like a solid objective reality out there, it's more like we're interacting with a program that's just generating the necessary information as we observe it.
It's a mind-bending concept for sure.
Pretty wild.
It is a radical shift in perspective, but one that aligns with some of the more, like, mind-blowing aspects of quantum physics.
Okay, I kind of get that.
And then you've got the argument from computational power. As our own technology is getting more advanced, we're creating increasingly complex simulations ourselves.
Right.
So, extrapolating from that, some folks propose that a sufficiently advanced civilization could create simulations that are basically indistinguishable from physical reality.
Okay, so if we are living in a simulation, who created it and why? And does it even matter?
Ah, the million-dollar questions.
Right.
And to be honest, there are no easy answers.
Yeah.
Some people suggest it could be, like,
There are.
a scientific experiment,
Okay.
a form of entertainment for a higher being, or even an educational tool for a more advanced species.
Interesting.
But these are all highly speculative scenarios.
Of course.
The more pressing question, maybe, is what does it mean for us if it's true?
Right, right. Instead of like freaking out about it, maybe we should focus on how this knowledge could actually empower us to live more meaningful lives. How does understanding the simulation argument, or even just considering it, change our perspective?
Well, it forces us to question our assumptions about the nature of reality. It encourages us to explore the boundaries of what we can perceive and to consider that there might be levels of reality that are beyond our current comprehension.
That's both incredibly exciting and terrifying at the same time.
Right.
But if the rules of the game aren't what we thought they were, how do we actually navigate this reality effectively? How do we begin to even understand the, like, quote-unquote rules of this potential simulation?
And this is where the Torah code, for some, comes into play.
Okay.
If there really are hidden messages in these ancient texts, perhaps they contain clues about the underlying structure of reality, a kind of user manual for navigating this simulated existence.
So it's less about, like, predicting the future and more about understanding the underlying code, the programming that shapes our experience.
Exactly.
That's a very interesting way to look at it.
And remember, even if we don't buy into the whole simulation argument, exploring the Torah code still brings up these fascinating questions about the nature of information and symbolism, and the potential for these deeper layers of meaning embedded within these ancient texts.
It's definitely thought-provoking. But let's bring it back to this concept of 1,000 years of peace. Even if it's just a possibility and not a guaranteed outcome, how do we even begin to move towards such a, like, utopian future? What are the practical steps?
Well, Braden suggests that it starts with a fundamental shift in consciousness, a move away from all the fear-based narratives that dominate our world.
Yeah.
We need to cultivate this collective awareness of our interconnectedness, recognizing that our actions, they impact not only those around us, but the entire web of life.
That sounds like a massive undertaking. Where do we even begin? It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of the challenges we're facing.
I agree, it can feel daunting.
Yeah.
But remember what Braden said about the universal field responding to human emotion.
Right.
What if shifting our individual and collective emotional state is the key to creating a more peaceful reality?
So you're suggesting that if enough people choose hope over fear, compassion over judgment, we could actually tip the scales and create this ripple effect, transforming our collective reality.
It's a bold proposition, I know,
It is.
but it resonates with a lot of ancient wisdom traditions. And as we've been talking about, even some emerging scientific theories.
Yeah.
If consciousness plays a role in shaping reality,
Yeah.
then our collective emotional state is a very powerful force.
So it's not just about the external actions,
Yeah.
like signing petitions or protesting injustices. It's also about the internal work we do, cultivating inner peace, radiating compassion, and choosing to believe in a better future. It almost sounds like a spiritual revolution.
You could say that.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we're not just passive victims, but active participants in shaping our reality.
I like that. There seems to be this recurring theme running through all these ideas. Choice. Whether we're talking about the simulation argument, the Dora code, or the prophecies, the message seems to be that we have a choice in how we navigate this reality and shape our future.
Absolutely.
We might not be able to control everything that happens to us or what's going on in the world around us,
Sure.
but we always have the power to choose our response.
And our attitude.
And the energy we contribute to this collective field,
Exactly.
this is incredibly empowering.
It is.
But it also makes me wonder, if our choices are so important, are there any, like, guidelines, any principles we can use to help us make choices that align with a more peaceful and harmonious future?
That's a great question.
You know, Braden talks about honoring the principle of life. What does that even mean?
Well, it means aligning our actions with forces that support life, growth, well-being,
Okay.
not just for ourselves, but for all beings.
Hmm.
It's about choosing compassion over judgment, understanding over conflict, cooperation over competition.
Right. But how do we make those choices consistently, especially when we're faced with challenges or strong emotions?
It's not always easy, that's for sure.
It's not,
It
no.
takes a lot of self-awareness, a willingness to question our assumptions, and a real commitment to making choices that align with our highest values.
Right.
It's a practice, a journey of continual growth and refinement.
So it's not about reaching some state of perfect enlightenment. It's about making conscious choices, moment to moment,
Yeah.
that reflect our desire to contribute to a better world.
Exactly.
It's about the little, everyday choices we make.
I agree.
Do we respond with kindness or anger?
Yeah.
Do we act from fear or from love?
Yeah.
Do we focus on what divides us or what unites us?
All important questions.
It's like we're all holding pieces of a giant puzzle, and the choices we make determine how those pieces fit together.
I love that analogy.
If we choose wisely, maybe we can create a beautiful and harmonious picture.
And that brings us back to this idea of a reset.
Okay.
If we can consciously choose to shift our energy, individually and collectively, could we potentially create a positive reset?
I love that idea, a positive reset,
Yeah.
like hitting the refresh button on humanity.
Exactly.
But Braden also talks about the possibility of a less desirable reset, one that might be forced upon us. If we keep heading down a path of discord and disharmony,
Right. That's the other side of the coin.
what can you tell us about that?
Well, that's a question we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
It delves into the potential consequences of our choices and the possibility of a course correction that might be out of our control.
This is getting intense.
Buckle up.
For our listeners, get ready to explore the potential for both positive and challenging resets as we finish up this conversation. Okay, so welcome back. It feels like we've been on this epic journey.
It has been a journey for sure.
Yeah, through ancient libraries, exploring like the very fabric of reality, glimpsing these potential futures for humanity.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have lost knowledge,
The
rediscoveries,
simulation art,
and Torah code,
the 1,000 years of peace.
and now we're going to explore this concept of a reset.
Right.
And we've talked about the possibility of a conscious positive reset, driven by our collective choices, to shift towards a more harmonious reality.
Right. We have the power to choose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But there's also this other type of reset, right? The one that's less about choice and more about consequence.
Yeah, the one that Braden says might happen if humanity keeps going down this path of disharmony and unsustainable practices.
Like a cosmic speed bump
Yeah, exactly.
to get us back on track.
Yeah.
But what would that even look like? Would it be some catastrophic event, a global upheaval?
It's hard to say for sure. Braden doesn't really offer specifics.
Right.
He uses the analogy of a computer program
Okay.
that encounters a bug or gets overloaded with data.
Uh-huh.
The program might just crash, requiring a reboot to get it working again.
So if we think of our reality, or even just our planet,
Right.
as this complex system, maybe a forced reset would be a way for the system to recalibrate,
Right.
to shed these unsustainable patterns,
Yeah.
and make room for a more balanced and harmonious state.
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that this whole idea of a forced reset is speculative.
Right.
We're kind of venturing into the realm of what if here.
Of course. But
Yeah.
even as a hypothetical, it's a pretty powerful reminder of how interconnected everything is. Our choices, both individually and collectively, have consequences that ripple outward, impacting the entire system.
It's like a web, everything's connected.
Exactly.
And maybe this concept of a reset, whether it's positive or challenging, is a call to action,
I like that.
an invitation to be more conscious, more intentional in the choices we make.
It makes you wonder if, throughout history, civilizations have gone through similar cycles, right? Growth, imbalance, and then a reset.
It's a fascinating question to consider.
Yeah. Are we approaching a turning point?
Who knows? Maybe we are.
It's also complex and interconnected. But amidst all these mind-blowing concepts and possibilities, one idea keeps coming back to me, Joyce.
Yeah, me too.
We might not be able to control every external circumstance, but we always have the power to choose how we respond.
That's a powerful realization.
It is.
It shifts us from feeling like victims to a place of agency and potential.
Exactly.
It highlights the importance of self-awareness, critical thinking, and really being able to discern wisdom from information
Right, we're bombarded with information constantly.
We
The
are.
question is, what do we do with it?
What do we allow it to make us into?
What does it empower us to become? Those are
Exactly.
really powerful questions, and I think that's a perfect place to wrap up our deep dive.
I agree.
We've covered so much ground, explored so many fascinating ideas, delved into some pretty mind-bending
This
possibilities.
has been quite a ride.
It has. But ultimately, it all comes down to choice.
It always does.
So for our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey. Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep reflecting, and keep making choices that align with your values and aspirations. Because ultimately, we're all co-creators of this reality, weaving the tapestry of the future with every thought, word, and action.